Hello, everyone, all you amazing healers and sensitive people. So, today, what I'm going to talk about is your unfinished projects and how those can be a black hole of your energy and you're not even aware of it. And it includes like your unfinished business projects, your unfinished home projects, a sewing project, any kind of project that's been hanging around for a really long time. So stay tuned to hear more. After interviewing hundreds of amazing healers like you on my podcast, I discovered their biggest challenges include not knowing where to get started to build their healing practice, build their practice so they can attract a stable income to support themselves, and that their advertising efforts seem like a waste of time and money. I had these same frustrations during my 30-year healing history. When I finally retired as a physics professor, I needed to replace my six-figure salary fast. As a highly sensitive introvert, I couldn't use typical sales techniques. Instead, I developed a 3-step system that replaced my income within 5 months. I've helped others develop their successful healing businesses with this system, and I can help you too. I'm Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. Listen in to discover more. Welcome back. So I'm going to cover 2 things. First of all, how your past and present unfinished projects can really pull your energy out of you because of the way energy works, and some thoughts about how to take care of those, how to choose which ones to keep, which ones to give up, right? So the way it works is, imagine an iceberg. You only see a little tiny bit. That's your unfinished project. But what's below the water is well over 90%, 95%, because of the buoyancy of ice in saltwater, for example. That is what is still there and what is pulling on all of your energy. And they are there in your subconscious, whatever's there unfinished, right? Whether it's organizing your pictures, whether it is finishing an old knitting project, you know the kind, the ones that have been sitting in your closet for a really long time, or a sewing project, or let's say you have a business idea and that you have a whole pile of business ideas and you've started them and they're halfway done. I had some science research projects and I had them half done. So I had to make up my mind, am I going to check them or am I going to keep them and make a plan on how to finish them? So here's some questions to help you decide what to do. The first is, are you going to finish the old project in the next 6 months? If no, then give it away, give it to somebody else, right? And if the project is not yet on the docket, and I'll describe some of the things that I did, if your project is not yet on the docket, but is in alignment with your future, then that's something you need to keep on your list. And then the last is the project something that needs to be done already, but something is holding you back? Maybe it's a little boring. Maybe it's kind of difficult. Like some people will delay their taxes for some reason. And I just heard from somebody who hasn't done her last 3 years of taxes because she just can't face the pile of receipts and bills. So this is something that you can give to an assistant or somebody who does this as a specialty to do, right? So hire somebody to complete it if it is mundane, especially if it's important like your taxes, right? So those are the clues as to whether you could keep them or not. And so let me just tell you what I did with some of my old projects, and these are some thoughts on releasing old projects. One thing that is a really huge energy suck is a storage unit. Storage units are a really huge business in this country. Everybody seems to have storage units. There are storage units, around every corner pretty much. And people have these storage units. Now, some people, they live in an apartment and they need a storage unit and they go use the storage unit a lot because they have like projects in there, right? But a lot of people have the storage unit because their house can't hold all their stuff. So, really? So if you think about it, the amount that you pay for a storage unit, like around here, they're about $150 for a 10 by 10 per month. So over the course of a year, it'll be $1,800. And over the course of 10 years, it's $18,000. So what could you buy with that $18,000 if instead you were paying for the storage unit, you sold everything in your storage unit, and if it's something you can't bear to part with, find a place in your home for it, right? So the storage unit to me is an unfinished project. And one thing that I did is I went from a 4,400 square foot house to an 1,100 square foot house. Now, of course, my two children took part of the furniture out of those 4,400 square feet, but I still was left with this small house, so I had to decide what to do with my things. And I wasn't sure whether I would stay in that small house or not. So I stored things up in the attic, and it became kind of my black hole. So now that I've moved into a 2,000 square foot house, I've decided that if I can't use any of it, they have to go, right? So there were things that were in this house already. I inherited the house. There were things in this house already that I had to decide whether to keep or let go. And a lot of the things I just put out on the street, and I put a thing in Craigslist or Free Cycle, come and get, and I had pictures of the furniture, come and get this furniture. So I let them go and let somebody else enjoy them. And the people that came and picked them up were thrilled because they were still in good condition and would look nice in a home, but I didn't have room for them or use for them, and there was no point in hanging on to it, right? Because that's kind of like an unfinished project. Well, I'm going to use this piece of furniture someday, and I have to hang on to it because my mom and dad had it for many years and they enjoyed it. But it wasn't my cup of tea, right? So some of the other things that I did was I had this gorgeous royal blue raw silk suit. It wasn't a full suit. It was something that I was sewing, and I bought this material way back in the mid-1980s when I took a trip to Canada, into Calgary, and it was gorgeous. It was kind of like this deep blue color that you see in my scarf here, and it looked really good on me. And the suit was exactly the cut, color, and shape that would complement me. But it never got finished because I had kids, and then I moved to Germany, and my life got really busy. So I moved it from Germany back to the US, and at some point in the US I decided that I can't keep it any longer. So I gave it to one of those places that are for shelters for women and children that need projects to do. So I gave it away, and it helps poor families and people in need. And the other thing that happened was I had rolls and rolls and rolls of yarn. And in Germany it's cold, so you do like all this knitting, and you'll sit with company, and I learned how to knit really well there, and I made a couple of sweaters, and I had plans to make one more. And when I moved to the US and I moved first to Las Vegas, I said, yeah, I'm not going to knit anymore. So I took all of those beautiful balls of wool and I then gave them to a place for projects, again, just like that. And it helps children and mothers do projects. So as soon as I released all of those things, I felt like this big burden lifted off my shoulders because I didn't have those things to do anymore, right? And just like with my old research projects from when I was researching vibrations of matter, Just like those old research projects, I either finish them or I let them go. Like I still have a couple of them, they're sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, am I going to finish them or not? And it's very unlikely that I will, but at least it's not occupying a lot of space. It's on a disk drive on a computer and that's it. It's just not occupying any visible, obvious big space here, right? But everything else I've let go of, all of my joint projects that I had going with people, those are things that will never ever get done. And I was doing the lion's share of the work, right? So that was in dealing with business partners that weren't working out. I was doing the lion's share of the work and getting very little return on my time investment. So all of those kinds of things, it's best to let go of. And then you'll find that when you simplify your life, one of the coaches that I worked with, he always said, focus is one. So do one thing at a time and keep doing it until you do it really well, right? And then when you do it and you succeed really well, then it's time to, and you can give the job to somebody else, then you can move on and do something new, right? So focusing on the one thing that you're really, really good at without having all those unfinished projects laying around will really lighten your burden. It will clean up your energy and it won't suck that subconscious energy towards those projects. Right, so I hope that was helpful. So number one is looking for the unfinished projects. Is it something that you'll finish? And is it something that is in line with your future, like in line with like your business plans and or even personal plans? And then last, is it something that you can let go of? Or is it something that's absolutely necessary for you to have? Like pictures, for example, right? You'll keep your pictures, you won't do away with them, but you could also just leave them in a box for people to enjoy. Or you can give it to a company to scan them all in electronically, right? Because, you know, at my age, most of the pictures that were taken of us before probably 2000 were all done on paper with film. And then after 2000, I remember getting my first digital camera in 1999, 2000-ish. And I paid a lot of money for a 2-megapixel camera that didn't work so well. The post-production processing was a lot, but I started taking more and more digital photos. And so I didn't have the big piles of pictures anymore. And the pictures of when my children were growing up, we scanned a lot of them in, so they're also electronic. We scanned a lot of family photos, so they're also electronic. And that is a way to solve the problem because, you know, I just got a picture that my mom took of herself when she was 35, one of those, you know, 25-cent automats where you take a passport photo, which is what she used it for. And now at this point, let's see, 35, it's been 60 years-ish, 50 years, almost 60, 55 years since that photo was taken. It's faded, you can't see it so well anymore, and when you have it preserved electronically, it's so much better. So you could take all your pictures in to somebody who will do all the scanning for you, right? So these little tips will help you then release a lot of the projects that you had in mind, either hiring somebody that will do it if you can't stand it, keeping it because it's in line with your future, and letting it go if you don't really need to complete it, or you've had it on your list of to-dos for a very long time and it's never gotten done. So you have to be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is it important that I finish it? Like, for example, that clothing that I had, it's gone out of style, even though it was a classic suit, right? But it's kind of gone out of style. So I just let it go. So I hope that was helpful for you to decide what to keep and what to let go of, to free your energy up instead of having it sink into the black hole of all of those projects, right? So that's all for today. I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you found this message helpful, please subscribe to this channel, give me a thumbs up or a 5-star rating, and share it with your friends. To discover more about the 3-step system for attracting a generous income as a healer or intuitive coach, sign up for free at www.highpaidhealers.com. I look forward to seeing you there and in the next video.